Verity, can you set push to talk button?
Sure.
Okay, I think let's start. And first of all, I think it's going to storm here in Ohio at my place. So just in case, if I suddenly disappear, it's not because I'm running away, but because something happens with electricity or with an internet. Just for your info. Okay, so let's start. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone who are today with us, and thank you for staying with us and being interested in the game and its future, and being active and supportive. And well, again, thank you very much for being with us. And let's start. Boom, boom, boom. So let's start the first part. As far as I understand, the first part is 1 hour run table where one by one everyone is voicing up their questions, concerns, ideas, and I'll answer them. And after that, there will be a half an hour of answering text questions that we might have for anyone who's not participating in that run table with us. So let's start. Loffrey?
Yeah.
Luffy? Sorry for misspelling here.
Oh, that's fine. Hello, thanks for the AMA. My first questions is a bit off gameplay related, and I want to put a disclaimer on it. I know I'm not, I'm just a customer, not a shareholder of the studio, but I have to ask these questions because I have some feedback about it. Recently, we've seen every day we connect some discounts, very aggressive discounts on the shop. All right. And some people tell me they're kind of worried about the situation of the studio because they feel, and I emphasize on the word feel, that this push for the shop and buy stuff, they feel that the studio is in kind of bad shape, and they have some doubts about the capacity of Bitbox to improve, debug, and finish the game. So they're not sure if they have to invest into the game more times. So what do you have to answer to those players?
Well, first of all, I'd say that they should not invest into the game. They should play the game and have fun.
No, I mean investing in terms of gaming time, not money.
Well,
You know, they,
I understand. Well, but investing the game time should also bring you fun. Maybe not instantly, but in some near future. But yes, I understand those concerns, and yes, so of course, it's obvious that we don't have as much amount of players and on online that we had during our 0-0 patch or when we opened the OBT back in November 2017 or on Steam in January 2018. That's true, but we are holding on, we are keeping up, and basically that's all I can say. And we plan the free to play. I'd say free to play launch or release or patch. Probably we can call it a launch, and we expect a lot from that. And along there will be some additions and improvements that should help current players and should help onboarding on new players into our games. So I think that we should be able to reverse the situation because we already did it once with 0-0 patch. I think again everybody saw that. So like there are a lot of players coming back now. Now they are also not playing, but I hope that we will be able to reverse that situation again once more.
Okay,
And
about specifically about the capacity of the studio to improve and debug fastly the game with more speed, I would say. What do you have to answer to them? Will you try to
well,
improve that?
Well, I'm not completely sure what do you mean by the capacity. I mean, we have the developers who are doing that as they did it before. So I can't say that we much improved, except I mean, quantity-wise, we didn't improve, but quality-wise, I mean, amount of experience and how well we deal with the bugs, I think we are slowly improving.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. So next one, Fire Sky, right?
Hello, Bobik.
Mhm.
Nice to speak to you, sir. And thank you for
Likewise.
hosting the AMA. I have two parts. One is community based, and one is new player and player retention based. In
Mhm.
relation to the community based, after the last AMA, I did speak heavily about feedback processes going both ways, which in the recent month I think has drastically improved,
Mhm.
at least from my perspective. So thank you for
Mhm.
that. I know the community is definitely thankful for feedback back and forward. Because
Mhm.
although you guys love the game, we love the game. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. In relation to the new players and player retention, um, I'm going to focus my question towards you based on burnout.
Based on what? Sorry.
Player burnout. Are you familiar with the term?
Okay, sorry. Can you repeat it? Burnout
Okay.
playing the game? Yeah.
Player burnout. Just if you're not familiar with it,
Well,
is
yeah, I do.
basically where.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, everybody
Okay.
got
So
bored.
basically,
Yeah.
essentially,
Mhm.
or they feel it's no longer interested.
Mhm.
So there's so many aspects of this game that, due obviously to the lower player base, is causing them to occupy so many different roles to
Mhm.
fulfill what they want out of the game. So, for
Mhm.
example, it's very clear that everyone wants to have their guild monument. They want to have a guild. They want to have every player occupying every role, big
Mhm.
castles, and so forth. Have big
Mhm.
armies.
Mhm.
But realistically, that's not happening.
Mhm.
For the start, 2.0 release, we had a huge amount of players,
Mhm.
potential. We could see it dipping, 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 dipping.
Mhm.
Um, I think, sorry to contradict yourself, sir, we might have got a little bit lucky in terms of bringing back a lot of the old veterans. The fact that we haven't kept them would suggest to me that it wasn't a great success as we thought.
Mhm. Well, I can't agree with you, but we should try it. We should try it again. And one of the, sorry, did I interrupt you, or are you done?
Uh, okay, I'll do
Huh?
one last
Mhm.
comment, sir, and then I'll surrender the floor. Um, last comment is, what is your sort of marketing plan per se to get new players in? Because we know you're going to make all the different changes possible to try and keep them, but what is your marketing plan to try and get them in?
To attract new players? That's what you're asking?
Yes.
Well, free-to-play transition and hope of Steam support and some. Well, there are some partners that promise some marketing support out there. I mean, like investing in our marketing. So I'd say that I hope that situation will get better. Well, I mean, I can share with you like a step by step plan, but in my mind, making game easier for new players and for existing players, and making it like really available, like a real free to play. Because until now, our game was not like a real free to play, and that's the source of many negative reviews on Steam that's saying that, well, it's said that it's free to play, but it's not free to play because you have to pay to get from the newbie island. I believe as soon as we turn on the full free to play, I'd expect a lot of new players, and hopefully with new players, some old players will come out. And again, since game will be, I'd say the major direction is for game to be less grindy, more rewarding and like faster, if you want to say so. I would say it might return some old players too. So far that's the plan that we are following.
Okay. Thank you for answering my question,
Mhm.
sir.
Oh, no problem. Um, let's proceed. Ely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi first, thanks for hosting the AMA. I think it's
No problem.
long overdue.
Mhm.
And I think Fire Sky had a few good points, and yeah, he actually asked the first thing I wanted to ask,
Mhm.
the question about the new players, and I think we
Mhm.
can stick to the new players because I'm one of those who are helping a lot in the help channel and
Mhm.
the in-game testers and so on, and we have questions that are coming again and again and again,
Mhm.
like what's about this quest, what's about that quest. They are still buggy.
Mhm.
And they feel a bit unfinished for
Mhm.
most of them. I
You're
did them to
talking
give,
about newbie quests, yeah?
yeah,
Mhm.
and the Newbie Island in total. We have this village over there, and then the whole empty, quite wasted island on server 1 and almost
Mhm.
pretty servers on 2 to 49.
Mhm.
So I just had today a newbie who said, if I wouldn't had this chat and wouldn't knew that I can switch the island,
Mhm.
I probably wouldn't have stayed. So I
Mhm.
saw the
Mhm.
island, I saw how wasted it was,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
those poor quests and the almost non-existent tutorial, and I
Mhm.
almost had left.
Mhm.
And I think this is a great problem. I think Kiffit said
If it,
a while
yeah.
ago, yeah, that
Mhm.
you're reworking the island, the quests, and the tutorials.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
Will
true.
this will this happen before you switch to free to play or after that?
No, well, I'd say it will happen during. I mean, it's of course it will be an ongoing process and a constant improvement. And while switching to free to play, we should improve the newbie island experience and like newbie experience in general. And yeah, the problem you have described. I mean, initially it should not be that hard to disperse players between all other newbie islands, so they don't see the barren land. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. I remember that
Mhm.
I think it. I'm not sure. I think it was on the old worlds, or we spawned on
Mhm.
random servers that
Mhm. Mhm.
had this advantage that you had, yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
islands.
yeah,
But
yeah. I understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it could be a good step if you go back to this, and also maybe think about what you could improve before you switch to free to play, because I'm sure you would lose a lot of players, of new players that come to this
That's
island.
true. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I completely agree with you. But again, like I mean, nothing can be done instantly. But that feature, or like randomly placing players, I mean, the original idea was to keep them kind of close to each other, so they see that it's not a single player game, but actually an MMO. But on the
Mm.
other hand, yeah, it's ended up that all of them are on the first island, and yeah, it turns out to be a barren and well, I'd call it used.
Yeah.
So let me write it down. That yeah, we need some random dispersion of newbie players. And yeah, let's. Is it all?
There's a lot more. I
Oh
think you
well,
could.
yeah, yeah, no.
I think you could ask Munas. I spent him a lot of the about the newbie island, the quest, and the tutorials.
Hmm. Well, yeah, yeah, I
Or
know. Well, but I mean, oh, that's a feedback, and we're
yeah,
really
okay,
thankful
yeah.
for you for that. But like
Next,
questions.
yeah,
Hmm.
next point about the green zones. It
Hmm.
also came up a lot of times. Newbies have, or returning players have
Hmm.
multiple characters and end up
Hmm.
in multiple green zones, and then they ask, "Well, Rip, how do I get to my other characters?" And you have to say either run and
Hmm.
spend hours, or yeah, leave the green zone, suicide, and pray that you will end up in the right green zone.
Hmm. Well, that's another issue that we definitely have to address is ability to fast travel between green zones
Yep.
and between green zone and guild monument. But of course, that ability should be working only for new characters, so for naked characters, let's say. So there is no good transport. There will be no good transportation allowed in that way. But yeah, if you want to move your character, your character body onto some guild, if you're a newbie and you want to join the guild, well, not join, actually, be in their guild, appear in their guild castle. So yeah, we definitely need some kind of fast travel, and I'd say we had discussions about that. We did not finalize the way how to do that, but I'd say there are some options, and we'll just have to pick one and implement it.
Yep, and that better sooner than later.
That's
And I
true.
mean, I mean normal soon, not the livish soon.
Hmm.
Okay, then you said the free to play will come quite soon. What about a new roadmap for the game? I think most of us are just surprised if you announce something like that. That will be close pretty soon, and I think we all would be happy if we had a roadmap that covers a longer time in the future. I think we had one in 2015, 16, something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe it would be a good time to share some information with us, what you're planning to do.
Well, I completely agree that it would be nice, but on the other hand, so I mean, when there are, well, it's really hard to plan that far when we're uncertain how certain things are going to work out. I mean, let's say in 0-0, truth to be told, we didn't expect that it will return that many players, but on the other hand, we didn't expect them um, to burn out that fast.
Mhm.
So and basically that's I mean we're keeping our hands on the pulse, and the pulse tells us what to do. And until we get that heartbeat, we cannot say where we should direct for sure. I mean, in what direction we should move. That's why we probably can make some kind of roadmap, but it's not like 100% sure that we will be able to keep up to it. That's why I'd say so far we prefer not to give false promises, but just announce our like next closest steps, but no more. But you're not the first, probably not the last person asking for some kind of roadmap, and maybe definitely we should do something about it.
Yeah. Okay. Then I think the last, before I'm taking too much time here,
Mhm.
there was a discussion today in the off-topic channel here in this Discord about the Live Innovation Discord, hosted by Fire Sky. And Catherine wrote that you are reading it, the requests and suggestions there. So I was asking, why is this this player-made, player-hosted Discord even necessary? We have the requests, we have the GD AMA channel, and about 98% of the messages are from us. And I think the last time you or Binard or whoever responds actively is long ago. And we feel a bit, I don't know, forgot there? Ignored, maybe?
Well, I understand, but you are not forgotten, not ignored. But on the other hand, everybody should understand that. I mean, sometimes feedbacks and suggestions are, I'd say, rather obvious, and they're all almost always saying we need a new content, and that's pretty much obvious for us. But on the other hand, everybody should understand that well, the new content takes time and takes efforts, and it's thing of prioritization. So, like, well, I still get a lot of suggestions about ships, about new crafting content, about well, a lot of suggestions. That's a good thing about our games, that we have created a whole world, and there can be even more and more and more details and aspects in that world. I mean, everything, almost everything, can fit into our game. But right now we're more focused on, let's say, on operation of the game. I mean, on the way how well it plays for players, how easy or hard is that for them. Your suggestion about Nubia Island is a really good suggestion. But most of the suggestions that I see, well, mostly about the like a new content. That thing would be great. That thing will be great, and that's true. I see all of that, but again, I cannot say that. Oh, cool! Let's implement it tomorrow. Unfortunately, not. We cannot do that, and that's why I'm not like providing any kind of feedback, because I've been there many times, and we don't have like free spare resources and deciding what we have to do.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we see that we almost get new premium stuff with almost each patch. And
oh yeah.
you know it. You know what I'm saying. You have a lot of players that say the art team is just creating stuff for cash. Why can't they just put the time into something that's available for all players?
For free.
Yeah, like we had the castle overhaul a while ago. What about doing the same with the stone walls? I mean, I'm just looking at castle walls, palisades, and stone walls next to each other, and the castle walls look great. The stone walls, on the other hand, are not so great.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I understand. I understand that question, and I think everybody should understand that when the amount of players decreases, population decreases, the same goes with revenues, and it's pretty much straightforward that if and when we had spare revenues to make free stuff, we would do that. But when we don't have it, we have to stick on something that will give us a return. That's pretty much the way it is. It might sound evil and corporate and so on, but unfortunately, that's what we have to do now. And so I'd say that our team, I mean, most of the stuff that you see is not like really created. It's something that we had created before. So we just slowly presenting it, releasing that. So I can say that, I mean, there are a lot of things that being created right now that just for the I don't know, for premium stuff, paid stuff.
All right. Okay, I think that's it from me. Thanks for your time.
And just thank you for your question. I just see that. So why not upgrade your own? Well, because of course, whatever we do with your own will never give us any revenues at all. I mean, guys, of course, it's all cool and fine to do something for free, but we simply cannot afford it right now. Okay, let's proceed. The next one is Artoria Pendragon. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Bobik.
Hello. How are you?
I'm so excited, and thanks the AMA group that giving me the opportunity for making few questions to our wonderful game, Life is Feudal. My words are brief and short. Firstly, I wish to ask that how is the progression of the naval combat? Because it's the most popular and the most welcome opinions upon a community, I suppose. And I think, yeah. And I think the fighting on the ground are nearly perfect. If we could do a better on sea warfare, that would be awesome.
I completely agree with you. There's nothing else to add except that I'd say that there is very few progress on a naval combat, and we had to. Well, I cannot say that we freeze. So of course, something is being done here and there, but I wouldn't expect it in the next half a year. Let's be straightforward. Naval combat ships and boats that was suggested to, but that probably was the number one, number two suggestion in our game since 2013, maybe 2012. But there are always more important things to develop, and And I mean, based on how much blood we have shed during the development of trade cards, we know that naval combat doesn't sound that easy to implement, especially with our fully authoritative server when one server has to calculate everything, to count everything, to prevent cheaters, and all those floating platforms, ships, and the way to crawl up and down, and their collision, interaction, and everything. Oh, it's not that easy task to do. Of course, hopefully we will be able to solve it someday, but not in the nearest future. And yeah, it's not our priority right now, unfortunately. Next
Yeah,
question.
I'm always looking forward to that. I can
Yeah.
wait. Thanks.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. Okay, next one, Neil.
Hi, you're right, Bobik. Thanks for hosting the AMA. My first
Thank you.
question would be, I suppose it ties into player retention, which is mostly around PvP at the moment.
Mhm.
Palisade walls and walls in general, like
Mhm.
granite walls, stone walls, and palisade walls,
Mhm.
they're all severely unbalanced. You've probably heard a bit of the feedback from that from everyone else.
Mhm.
Mainly the palisade walls, like, is there any plans to change the resistances of each type of wall? And for stone walls at the moment, they're the most useless walls because they require amber wood, which makes granite walls easier to build than stone
Mhm.
walls. So people are kind of spamming palisade walls in its place or skipping straight to granite walls.
Mhm.
Is there any plans in the coming future, very short future to be honest, because this is ties into player retention, like it's destroying PvP and your current player base, just from my experience, is mostly around your PvP. That is where it's holding strong. Um, but yeah, is there any plans to change the resistances of all the walls and bouncing them out, mainly palisade walls because they're really strong?
Well, I understand your question. First of all, I mean, we would definitely have to look into it. I saw some feedback about Palisade walls, but on the other hand, as far as I know, as far as I remember, we didn't tweak them for a good amount of time, and I don't really understand why they suddenly
Um,
became such an issue
it's
when they were not
because
a month ago, a couple of months ago.
the way the game's changed with the thief system is the
Well, fifth
sieges are
system appeared in
it,
February.
yeah, it's tying in strong with the siege mechanics now, which are going strong for because it comes late game, all the sieges and stuff.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
now that you've got sieges, like that picture that guy just posted there, that is the biggest oof, because it takes 5 sapper charges to destroy one palisade wall,
Hmm.
which costs 15 billets. That is
Hmm.
like 50 linen cloth and like 500 naphtha.
Hmm. Hmm.
The time the attacker takes to supply such a thing will probably take 2 real life weeks if it's just one
Hmm.
guild trying to do this. But you've
Hmm.
got big coalitions doing these sieges, so
Hmm.
building palisade walls is nothing. Either side can spam them like crazy. The
Hmm.
attacker or defender, it's making sieges as drawn out, and the whole dynamic of PvP is it's just getting destroyed by it because it's not balanced properly.
Hmm.
Um, it's like even the defend. This ain't an argument of like, oh, the attackers are getting the need the advantage and all this. It's the defenders and the attackers can both benefit from changing the balance of palisade walls at least, because it's the defender can't do anything to the attacker if they spam 5 layers of palisade walls within an hour. They cannot do anything. They cannot break down all them walls, especially when they've got resistance. It is breaking the whole fun of PvP.
Okay, okay. Understood. We'll look into that. I agree. It might need some other attention.
My next question is a
Hmm.
pretty hard one because I don't know if you can answer it, but if in the future the game does not succeed to its ambitions with its
Mhm.
size of map, is there any possibility or chance to scale back that ambition? Because a lot of the player retention is mostly just based around PvP at the moment, but you want it around everything else in game, like role play, fucking diplomacy, and all that. But the map
Mhm.
is just too big for all them
Mhm.
types of gameplay to thrive.
Mhm.
The one really big good thing you've done so far with this map is trade. That is going really well in this game now. That is doing really well. But the whole size of the map for the amount of population you've got, which is, if it doesn't increase, is there any chance of a smaller map for your dedicated player base? Because your dedicated player base will always be here till the end.
Hmm.
If
So, sorry for interrupting. You're asking if we can shrink the map in order to get
I'm
gameplay
asking,
more comfortable for smaller amount of people. Well, for the current
yeah,
population, right?
yeah, like obviously you can't just change it now, but I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if
yeah,
in
yeah.
future it doesn't improve with making it free to play and all that, I just, will there be any chance of scaling it back? Because that is probably where your game would thrive the most, because all your aspects of the game would thrive on a smaller map. And I mean, actually, probably smaller than Avalon. Maybe 3/3 the size of Avalon would probably do right for your dedicated player base. And your current mechanics are doing really, would do really well in, it's just
Well,
with,
yeah, and I understand your idea. Well, well, so for sure, you're right that we cannot do it on a current map, like on the run. So whatever we're talking about is some kind of the new world with a new start or something. And I mean, there are a lot of underwater stones. There are a lot of caveats in that idea. But well, yeah, I'd say it's worth it to think about it. Let's say that way, because of course I understand the lower population on the same huge map takes hours to travel around, and yeah, it takes everything. Well, it's not that easy. Maybe one of the ways how we can lower the size of the map is by actually providing the means of faster travel, and like that will effectively make a map smaller, because the size of the map is actually how long it takes you to travel from one point to another, and it doesn't matter if it's EVE Online map and you just traveling light years in 20
yeah,
hops, yeah, or it's something that doesn't have any transportation and you walk a couple of kilometers in a couple of hours, right? So yeah, it's I'd say to me it's related with a fast travel issue, and yeah, we definitely should think about it.
okay. Right,
Okay,
there's a lot more,
let's.
but I'll let you go on to other people.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
for
There are a
the
lot of
answers.
people. Yeah,
Cheers, Bobik.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, Beef Bash. Beef
G'day.
Bash. Hello.
Hi. I've got a first question. For the Australian, New Zealand, and Japanese gaming community, judgment hour is a big issue because the current windows for us stop at 4 p.m. in the afternoon and start again at midnight. It makes it inaccessible for most players in our time zone. I imagine China would be included into that time zone partially.
Oh, I think we have a China time zone, and can you please remind me how far China time zone from Japanese time zone? I mean,
Probably
how many
about
hours?
4 hours.
4 hours? Seriously? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
China spans a good distance.
Okay. Okay. F mark for me for geography. Okay. Well, yeah. Maybe we should consider some kind of
Yeah,
another
like
time
we're
zone.
a 24-hour time zone just to make it fair access from players from all time zones.
Well, 24 hours time zone is something that turns 4 a.m. PvP player versus building fun and fun with of course, it's not fun. But yeah, I understand the problem, and yeah, definitely we should think about it.
The other second question I have
Yeah, sure,
is
sure.
about the piety calculations. They always roll over at 6 a.m. Instead of having a 24-hour cycle, could we get that changed to a 25-hour cycle so every day advances 1 hour, and then everybody from the different time zones has access?
So what exactly are you talking about?
The piety buff.
Party buff?
Yeah, for your worship, for your
Ah,
ranking.
okay. No, you're talking about Archimankur and Matriz and all that. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's mechanics that were all designed for regional servers, and yeah, kind of agree with you that it doesn't work on a global server. And yes, now I tried to wrap my head around it, but I didn't find a proper solution yet. So yeah, I admit that someone who's outside of European prime time probably suffering from that, unfortunately.
Yeah, 25-hour cycle would solve that.
Well, yeah, maybe. Okay.
Another suggestion we have is items of the same quality, a simple button to stack all the items of the same type in your inventory.
Yeah. It was also suggested, and so yeah, auto stacking and auto split and all that stuff. I don't remember exactly on which stage of development we are, but that's something in our, I say, short list of things to do.
Okay, excellent. I had another suggestion. The ability to name animals.
To name animals? Sorry,
Yeah, to like name your horse.
Well, truth be told, it's first time I hear such a suggestion or read, but I can say for sure how easy to implement it will be, but in theory, it should not be that hard to do. Well, yeah, we'll consider it. Thank you.
Yeah, because imagine it would help people keep track of horses inside larger guilds.
No, well, yeah, I understand how it can help. I'm just thinking about code-wise and database-wise, how easy or hard it will be to do. But okay.
And last suggestion I have is it possible that stacking items inside your inventory could be handled client side? Because here, when we got like 400 millisecond delay to the European servers, the most we can stack is 2 items in a second. It just makes like ore washing and everything extremely long and arduous.
Well, I understand it on one side, but on the other hand, we have a authoritative server, and that means that we don't give away any game logic on the client side, because as soon as you give it on the client side, it will be hacked. On the other hand, I agree with you that stacking and unstacking things on the client side is not a huge deal, but when it creates a new quality, when you're stacking stacks of different quality, it creates a new quality in between of them, like an average quality. Now, it's definitely should be verified and ruled by the server. So I understand your question, your problem, but I cannot say how it can be solved like easily, and I don't think that giving away some inventory operations on the client side will be a safe move to do. But yeah,
All
okay.
right. Thank you very much for your time.
So yeah, thank you. Let's continue. Sportune.
Yo, what's happening?
Fine, you.
Not bad. My question was basically like, well, first off, that what Biff Bash just said about the Judgment Hour. I'm also in New Zealand, so yeah, the
Okay,
time frame
that's
for
the
New
same
Zealand's
point.
like. This is just going back to it because I think it would really help with like a Oceanian time zone. Because for me, it's 2 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon, which is kind of like my sleep time I work in the mornings till 5 or 6. So I
Do
don't
you
really have
sleep
time
during
for...
night? You have a game to play. Come on, weakling.
Yeah, of course. Alright, so basically my main question was, I don't know what you guys think about this, because this can be like everyone will think differently about this question basically. But having alts to like have all the skills that you need, I think that's maybe a bit slow, and I don't know. I know it's probably good for like the paid side of Life is Feudal, but if you could like add to the shop like buying 100 skill points instead of, I mean 400 skill points instead of buying another account, just so that you wouldn't need to go through the troubles of, logging into an account every time you want to do something. Just so that the accounts can be built in. I don't know. I've heard like a lot of negativity towards that. But yeah.
So I don't think I clearly understand the idea. So what exactly do you suggest in few words? Just, I think I got lost somewhere in the middle.
Just like, as in like, do you know how you like might have a hunter and then you got a lumberjack or a forester, sorry.
So
basically,
they're on the same account, right?
Yeah, they're on the same Steam account, but you have two accounts, like profiles in the game. So basically, if you could add them profiles, make it like you can't buy profiles, but you can buy skill points for the $11 or however much an alt costs, just so it's all in the one account. It's all like, you don't like, because I've just brought quite a few, and it's honestly quite hard to keep track of like who's what and things like that. But if it was all in the same account, it would all be there, and basically you could, it just makes it a lot easier.
So you are talking. So you're talking about character transfer between accounts, so it will be easier for you to manage them, or what?
Yeah. So in theory, there's no transfer at all. It's just like all your accounts are in your one account. So say you have your main account, all your like accounts come into the same account, as in all your skills from all your other accounts are in your one account. But instead of buying an alt to get another 400 skill points on something else, it's
okay, so you're basically effectively you are talking about increasing skill cap on a character, so you don't have to switch between characters and accounts. Is it right?
Yeah, and that would also, I don't know, this is another thing. Speed of gameplay, that would kind of speed that up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I find that a lot of members that probably don't play as much anymore just don't have enough time. Because and I feel like if the game was speeded up just slightly, then they might come back and.
So that's actually a good thing that you are saying that, because that's what exactly I was talking about in way of changes that we plan for free to play and increasing the speed of everything and making it easier and faster. So we're on the same page here as about skill cap increase. So no, I think it can be considered after all. I mean, I know that there are a lot of players having up to 30 characters on their account and logging in and out to settle skills leveling or to get some experience and so on and so forth. So if you can, so effectively they have all the skills on the everything in their hands, but it turns into the pain for them to switch between those characters to do something. So maybe increasing the skill cap might help, but just we should proceed carefully here. So anyway, it's a good thing to consider, and yeah, it's a good thing that you're talking about that. Is it it?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, True Gent, your next one.
Hello everyone, and hi Bobik.
Hello.
So I kind of represent sort of fresh people, fresh community. We joined the game, and we got kind of big problem when it comes to destroying level 1 monuments. Can we somehow improve it? Because at the moment the game is kind of protecting bandits, so they can build level 1 monument. They can bully your guild, but in order to destroy it, you need to invest a lot of money. And in 5 minutes, they can like replace it for almost free.
Well, yeah, I understand that, and it's this problem been there for many years, because effectively, there is no way to tell if a certain guild is a newbie guild of small group of players who are making their first steps in the world, or it's some kind of veterans players who just created that guild for harassment. So what I'm trying to say that in first, if there's a genuine newbies that are making their first steps, we should protect them. If there are bandits that are harassing you, we should not protect them. But whatever mechanism is going to be implemented, it can be exploited and bypassed. So
if I can suggest something,
sure.
If those are like newbie players, they don't really want to join PvP. So could you block PvP for people with level 1 monument? And that will prevent bandits creating level 1 monuments just to fight. They will have to create level 2 in order to make wars with someone.
Well, they can always just provide access and just get binded in houses in that level 1 monument. As I said, you're not the first one who is talking about it, and of course we always thought about it. And there are some aspects of guild-to-guild relationships that where you can, for instance, alliances, right? I mean, there is no need for certain alliances in game because you can always be in an alliance by the fact, but not a single game mechanics will be triggered. I mean, like partying. And the same story about the new guilds. I mean, we can observe the skill level, we can observe the playtime, and so on and so forth, but it can always be bypassed. So that's why I would say that a good guild with a good amount of people and like walls and protection should be able to fight against the harassment. And
I mean, yeah, it's doable, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, removing the monument is not a solution. That means I will have to run further and longer. And I mean, we've been there. That's why we implemented influence zones back in the previous versions of the game, if you do remember. It was the same idea, but again, you put something behind the influence zone and you just run a little bit longer. Not a big deal. So I'd say maybe a good way for us will be to find the ways to give ways to better counter the harassment. So it will not be such a problem for you when you have a tier 1 monument with nakeds running toward you.
Okay. Could we have like possibility of destroying them with level 1 military outpost instead of level 3?
No, again, it's whenever we make
newbies. Okay,
yes,
that's
right. Yeah.
Welcome
to my world.
Yeah, I understand. That's a big problem. I know.
Yeah.
So, second thing, which you probably been asked as well, but like I said, we are new to the game, most of us. So, creating proper moats around the castles, like pouring water on, is it possible to make like proper, just fill your moats with water?
Well, not with water, but you can do that by digging tunnels and just make sure that you will reinforce them, because if you don't, they will decay after some time.
But we cannot add water.
Yeah, there is no.
It's not possible to add it to the game.
There is only one of the few things that we don't have, and we don't have hydrodynamics. Like the fluid simulation in a massive multiplayer online game.
I mean, yeah, this game is offering a lot. I'm not complaining, just asking.
Yeah.
So, and that's very last question from me, because, like I said, we are quite new, so I could see the same thing what was happening to the most players. in the game. So at the current stage of the game, we are capable of getting that skill buff for being in top 100, which is a great thing, don't get me wrong, but it leaves like semi players out of the equation. So now you either log in to max out your skill bar, X bar, or you just play hardcore to get to top 100. But if you got your skill bar to full, you don't feel like any need to play anymore. So most people is just logging off.
So, do I understand you correctly? If you are not aiming for top 100, you got nothing much to do.
Like if you don't have enough time to like be hardcore and go for 100, people just feel like they wasting their time because that XP bar is full. So my question is, can we get some sort of reward to dedicate, like when we dedicate into characters for doing actions beyond the max XP bar?
Okay. Well, yeah,
Like
it sounds
buff
a little bit like going back to the old system, and
yeah, I don't know the old system. Sorry,
yeah, I
like I said,
understand.
we play from
Yeah,
from
I
humans.
understand. Well, I'd say that's why we call it an old system, because back then there were a lot of players who had no time to dedicate, who had no much spare time to dedicate to leveling, and that made them feel that they're left behind even more, because I mean, if a certain player has a lot of time, he's spamming a lot of skills and abilities, he's progressing way faster, and there's no way you can do that. That's why we designed this system that gives you just enough time to play for a couple hours and fill your XP bar, and just go have fun, all the other sources of fun, and you know that you will not be left behind.
Yeah, I mean, all what I want to say is, like in my guild, for example, people, when they have full XP bar, they're not gonna carry on doing their things like cooking or something, because they know that they kind of waste the resources for experience, which is disappearing. So they will cook next day instead, and it stops them from playing. So people play like for an hour or two, and they're not gonna play anymore today because character is full of XP. So what I thought is, like, if you got 4 XP bar, maybe you can like get stackable buff, which will be like for each XP which is overfilling, you're getting like a bonus to skilling or something. Not big
Okay,
one,
and
but
I understand.
still something.
Okay, and I understand. So I understand the problem, and well, we're talking about some kind of overflow XP bar that will be slower, but still will provide some kind of benefits for doing that.
Yes.
I saw you could sacrifice some XP.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I
but
don't.
that is not really give anything.
Well, depends on who is doing the same action with you. I mean, sometimes you can sacrifice XP and get in the top 100. That's actually why we implemented all that system with Archimancurs and Mactores.
But if we're
But
honest,
it's more for
this
grinders.
only
Yeah, go on.
sacrificing XP is only a real thing for two of the gods. For the others, the gain of points is that low that it's just a waste of time in the end.
Well, in that case, we probably might to tweak it. Because I do remember there were some reports about carpenter gods.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. but I'm not sure about. I didn't remember seeing much of concerns about other gods and other ways of getting favor for them. Okay, we started the discussion here. I understand the problem, and we'll definitely think about it. Let's continue.
Okay, so thank you very much for your answers. That's all from me.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's proceed. Sev.
So I have 2 questions. It's PvP related. 50
okay,
versus
next one. I'm joking. Sorry.
50 versus 50 IVs. Is this possible with the current player base?
It's possible, but it's something that I can never understand. Is the mentality. I mean, you can always start 100 versus 100 IB and and feel it until 40, 50 players on both sides. and I mean we can lower more price for the IB totem and make it more available. But my point is that I don't see problems using current IBs when you know that there will be no 100 standing against you, and if you don't fill all the 100 slots, it's fine. I mean, there's probably the high chance that your enemies will not also fill it up.
Well,
So
I guess the main problem is there's like different time zones where not
Well-
everybody can fill. Like sometimes we'll say we'll have 40
No.
people and then the enemy will have 80 people. Like that's like I've been in hundreds of IBs. Like that's unwinnable.
Mhm.
Where I just feel like
Well-
if it was like 40 versus 50, that's totally doable.
Well, if that's the case, maybe we definitely have to think about it because I mean, giving away the whole province just for 50-50 IB will sound unfair. I mean, what's the difference between 100 on 100 IB then?
Well, there's definitely less lag, that's for sure.
It removes the red versus blue aspect of the game, which it kind of already is at the moment. Because if you have 50 versus 50, your smaller coalitions can fight versus a coalition that's got far superior numbers. Whereas because it's 100 versus 100 for any regional fighting, it has to be 100 versus 100. Anyone who has more than the other side just loses. They don't have a chance.
Well, again, it's it's not the first time we have such a discussion, and well,
because there's also an option where you could add like where the defenders have an option of making it a 50 versus 50 IB or 100 v 100 IB, depending on the circumstances. If that makes any type of sense.
Well, yeah, the problem is to define those circumstances because.
Well, let's say they get attacked during their prime time and they can fill 100 people. Well, then they should have the option to make it 100 versus 100. But say they get attacked on the weekend with their third time JH, and they can make it a 50 versus 50 because half their guild or half their alliance is going to be in bed sleeping at that time.
No, of course I understand those aspects. That's understandable. Well, yeah, I think we should think once more about it because I mean, right now we have one IB, one province, and if it will be 50 versus 50, we have to think about some kind of hit points for the province or something like that, and it complicates the system quite significantly. But of course we will think and talk about it. What's your second question?
So my second question is lag compensation.
Mm-hmm.
I think almost every PvPer in here can agree that it is absolutely horrible right now. Like I have multiple videos that I can show you of people swinging through me. I'm swinging through other people, and it's just bad at this current point. Like I'm getting hit from 5 tiles away from where the enemy's on my screen, and I'm pretty sure when I'm lancing people or combat melee fight, I'm hitting people from 2-3 tiles away when I shouldn't be hitting them. It goes the same thing for me. I'm getting hit from many tiles away. I feel like that's something that needs to either be removed or extensively looked at and tweaked and fixed.
First of all, I understand you, and that's one of our priorities right now. And I believe we had tweaked like compensation system a couple times before. But one thing that I always keep saying, when you get hit from 3-4 tiles away, that actually means that like compensation works. And the one who was hitting you, he has hit you correctly in his screen. But the fact that he's lagging means that time it took. Or
So
the,
my
so,
thing is though, what
Mhm.
about people that are purposely causing themselves to lag to give them advantage of the lag compensation?
Well, it's
because
of course
there is currently a bug where if you're lagging, the lag compensation will take over and you'll get a increased speed bonus and you'll be hitting somebody for way harder than you should be
Whoa. That's
because
something
of the
new.
lag compensation.
No. Lag compensation should not affect your speed bonus or anything.
That's the thing. I've tested it. I purposely made myself lag by activating a download on Steam or something like that. I'm hitting people for higher speed bonuses. And
because character moves from point to point instantly.
Correct. And the only thing that I can think of is lag compensation.
Well, it's then it doesn't sound like lag compensation. It's just because no, that's something really new. I mean, no, I haven't seen such reports, and first time I hear about such experiment. And yes, that's something new we have to think about. And if you can, please reproduce it and like make some kind of video, send it to me or to help to any game master you can see online or anyone, so we can take a look on it and just see. Right now, to me, it sounds like some kind of bug. It definitely should not work that way.
Yeah,
It's no.
I think basically the community is asking, either remove it or extensively look at it because it's honestly killing PvP in the game currently. Like
no, I agree with you. Yeah.
Archers are shooting like you'll see arrows sticking out of you from like a mile away.
Well, those arrows sticking from a mile away, it's just a visual thing. I mean, seriously. I mean, the way how our game works, there's a zero authoritative logic, and everything is calculated on the server and everything controlled by the server, but all the visuals are only on the client side. So sticking arrow hit is a calculation on the server side, where arrow actually stack is on the client side. So what I'm trying to say that arrow can stack anywhere. It doesn't look correct, but that doesn't say that the actual hit was counted incorrectly. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I have seen a lot of people getting crazy about certain pictures where the arrow stuck a meter away from the person and saying, "Oh, why he hacked or somebody hacked?" Hackers everywhere. But what I'm trying to say, it doesn't say anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a visual on your client side. Actual hit was calculated on by the server and was calculated correctly, unless there was a bug or something.
Okay, but I can also send you plenty of videos of stuff happening that shouldn't happen. Like I'm sure a lot of people can. But I'll definitely see if I can reproduce that one bug because that's a big. To me that's a big exploit.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's proceed. Jaguar.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'll be translating for Zaguar because he will ask his question in Russian language, and I'll be translating it to all English speaking.
Okay, thank you very much.
У меня такой вопрос. Первый вопрос это, наверное, все скорее, что пойдет про твинка гильдии, наверное, который больше всего вот заполоняет игровой мир. То есть такая гильдия, которая стоит один, то есть первый монумент первого уровня, он ставится и в большом случае их неудобно потом атаковать. То есть они просто ставят, то есть и везде могут их натыкать, поставить везде, там поставить, там поставить, там поставить, там поставить.
Так, покороче уже просто уже 10 часов. Вопрос ясен, на него уже отчасти отвечал. So the question was about twin guilds and the way how they can be used and for harassment and everything. And as far as I said, my answer was that we have just discussed it, that there is no way, like completely 100% safe way to distinguish the twin guild between the actual newbie guild. And that's why we prefer to protect newbie guilds and leave the twin guilds as they are. And let those bigger guilds to deal with the harassment itself rather than removing those twin monuments. Ну, заговор, короче, мы это уже обсуждали, и короткий ответ в том, что нельзя точно разделить, честную Ньюбой гильдию с первым левым монументом и твинковую гильдию.
У меня есть предложение, можно, да, кратко там? Вот,
Очень
например,
кратко.
очень кратко. Если монумент поставить первого уровня и дать ему возможность, допустим, как вот ставится церковь, у нее есть какое-то время тайма, когда можно ее разрушить. Почему не сделать такой момент, когда ставится монумент, и дать ему время 24 часа, например, в сутки? Если это действительно гильдия хочет здесь обосноваться, она должна как-то защищать эту территорию, что
Но
действительно...
с нубами это, конечно же, не будет работать. 24 часа им ничего не даст. Их потом снесут.
Правильно, то есть если это гильдия, какие-то нубы пришли, то да, она, значит, не состоит. Если идет большая гильдия и хочет здесь действительно биться с какой-то большой гильдией, они строят как? Вот приходят в не наше время, ставят гильдию, и ты просыпаешься, а там уже все расстроено. Вот. А через торговую лавку поступает обычное дерево, где в пустыне, то есть его нету, и строятся дома, замки и так далее вырастают. А по большому счету люди там сами развивались, выращивали те же леса, трудились, а тут пришла гильдия и быстро построила все. То есть это как-то неправильно немножко, и развитие как-то не идет игры. Пусть строят лес, высаживают лес, добывают камень, глину, запретить, то есть торговые лавки, добычу, то есть передача именно строительных бревен,
Так, мы тут
полений.
прыгнули уже на торговые лавки.
Ну, и это вот второй вопрос, я просто быстренько переключился на него.
Ну окей, про передачу ресурсов, по какое-то ограничение можем подумать, да. Окей,
еще третий судный час. Вот я еще хотел спросить, вот как-то все-таки отстранить третий судный час, как-то пересмотреть, потому что не всем гильдиям удобно в этот час как бы воевать.
So his second question was about unfairness of using trade post transfers. There are cases where a certain big guild comes in, builds a trade post, and use it to teleport goods and wood to that trade post and quickly build up a small castle or whatever. And it sounds unfair. And his third question was about the judgment hour timing. The third judgment hour timing that's he believes doesn't fair. Okay, well.
Еще можно краткий вопрос, быстренько.
Очень.
Что нас ждет в будущем, над какими интересными идеями ведется работа, какой пиар-акция производится, расширяться ли, будет ли расширяться ли команда разработчиков игры? Вот.
Короче, на это уже отвечалось в начале, об этом были разговоры. Ну, просто реально повторять на русском все то, что уже обсуждали выше, это не
Ну, на них отвечали, то есть я просто...
Да, в начале, да.
Ну, то есть это будет делаться, да?
Ну, все делается, да.
Все понял, спасибо большое.
His last question was about marketing plan, PR, and everything game related that we have briefly discussed in our first minutes of our AMA. Okay, let's proceed. Jublane.
Hey, thanks, Bobik. A few questions. One, I know you've had a number of questions today about the marketing plan and the new game and all this. I mean, look, the simple reality is this game and what we want it to be, I think collectively, I don't think there's anybody here that has any hope whatsoever of seeing, let's say a Royal Warhorse or Royal Armor in any way, shape, or form until game population is like, me and maybe 15 other people still playing the game. So we're still in beta, and I know a lot of the questions that we're getting today are some aesthetic and things like this, like naming animals. I'm really wanting to focus on how do we salvage a game that so many of us obviously enjoy playing and have a lot of good time spent into this game. So when will the game not be in beta? When will we be releasing it in beta? And what are plans for content outside of just the player created content? Because the only thing right now that's keeping game population where it is, and to be frank, and I'm sure you observe this player decline. In a time zone, less than 400 people in a prime time. EU prime time, maybe 1,000. For a map of this size, obviously that creates challenges. So, we brought up in previous AMAs about roaming natives and things like that. But what other content, will we see? And are we going to see that release of out of beta into the open market? You mentioned free to play. Are we going to see those things? Or are we going to have to sit this out until everyone, 300 days from now when you might have a T4 or 100 skill? Because I just don't see retaining the players until then. There's too much else that's going on in the gaming community to retain a player base that long, based on the current trajectory.
So it's it's a complicated question. I'm not sure. How to word it out in a few words, because you have covered a lot of. So first of all, we briefly discussed that free to play is going to happen. That right now we're focusing on making things easier and faster, and tier 4 progression and tier 4 armors and everything are part of that. Also of our further plans. And yeah, it's a problem to retain the players. That's for sure. And easing things up and speeding everything up is one of solutions that we suggest, along with free to play like release, if it can be called a release. So basically, I don't see what else to add here. Maybe if you can rephrase your question in a shorter way.
Sure. So, effectively for the next, at least the next 6 months, we should expect this iteration of the game with some modifications, perhaps, until the game is actually released as out of beta stage, and you implement a broader based free to play to market and actually start marketing the game to increase the players. I've heard comments about shrinking the map and all these things, and I mean, I don't think that's the direction that you want to go, because obviously less players means less money, and less money means less ability to develop. So, and I think the game itself lends towards a larger player base. What are ways that and timeline wise, when can we expect this as players? Are we just babysitting what's being coined? And I don't like to use the term a dying game, but are we babysitting this through dying gasps of a player base? That's really what it is.
Again, I have a hard time understanding the question in a few words, because I understand with almost everything you're saying, and just so the question, maybe in a few words, if I can rephrase your question,
sure.
you're asking about roadmap, right?
Sure. What's the roadmap here? Are we waiting here for 6 months? We're going to make some minor tweaks and then do a release. Is it sooner than this? When can people expect to say, okay, like you ask a lot of the dedicated players to keep, reaching back and pull in veterans and pull in new players. But at the same time, it's increasingly more and more difficult for the veterans who've been playing this game for 3-4 years now to do this. You guys aren't making our tasks easier of player retention either, right? So we want to work with you and help you do this, but we need something as well. We need to know, like, okay, are we babysitting this with minor tweaks for the next 6 months until they decide to release the full game, or what are we doing?
Okay. So I think I understand now. So your question about the roadmap, and we have already discussed the roadmap. That long-term roadmap, I don't think it will be, not safe. I'm trying to find the word. I don't think it will be really reliable. So our next step, I have voiced it out. I have said that we're going to prepare the free-to-play release. We're going to speed things up and ease things up and make them more friendly for newbies. And then we will see how we're going to proceed. So our roadmap is consisting of one major step is like free to play and ease of progression and faster and like better for everyone. And then we'll see how we're going to proceed in the next months.
Okay.
Bobik, If I can just jump in. See, at the end, once you've went over the players that you wish to talk to, can you tell us what feedback you particularly want from us so that we can actually dedicate our thought process to helping you and quicker solve the issue?
So the question is, what kind of feedback we want from you?
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, actually, first of all the feedback helps, but I'd say right now it's more around the more valuable content will be more around the player retention. I mean, what keeps you or players you know in the game, and what makes you or them to leave the game. And it's first point and second point, the same questions about the newbie players. If you happen to know some newbie players, what made them to stay in the game, and what made them to leave the game. Because right now, I think that should be our priorities to, well, improve our retention for everyone. And
Okay.
I mean, understand me correctly, new features and new content is fun and everything, but let's say if some newbie are leaving the game on the tutorial island, it doesn't give a damn thing about how huge the ships will be at the end game,
Well, do remember as well that the Noob Island right now is the first impression that any player gets for this game. You heard the lady speaking about, it's pointless at the kind of thing at the moment, kind of, without the help channels and things. So if that's their impression of the game,
Yeah, and so of course I understand. That's our priority now. That's what
okay,
we're
I'll let someone else jump in.
Sorry. And just to follow up there, Bobik, saying you missed, I had a secondary question there, but again, around content, because I really think that's what it is. It's what is the content that keeps people playing? And I can tell you right now that obviously with the larger alliance wars that goes on, that's basically what's kept people playing, whether it's from the PvE side or the PvP side, with the obvious exceptions of predominantly we've lost, I think, majority of our NA PvPers to some of the reasons that Seb has brought up, like compensations, things like that. But besides that point, what other content can we expect to see that will help retain players, whether that be the Roman native bands, the more interaction. We talked about Newbie Island, but more interaction, NPC interaction, things like that, I think would help greatly with player retention. And I'm just curious what the plan is for things of that nature.
You're talking about the certain changes on the Newbie Island and first player experience?
I'm talking mostly about in the current world. I mean, outside of player generated siege content, there isn't any. And it's a culmination of, okay, you've hit your 90 skills, you've done a little bit of crafting. Now what's the point? If there's no siege, if there's no large scale PvP, then your player retention has almost collapsed overnight, and we've seen it. So outside of this, what type of content do we foresee creating to retain those players?
I don't think we have much of something special content for PvPers so that we are creating or working on. I'll be straightforward with you. I mean, I can even hardly imagine what kind of content it may be. Well, aside of raiding the NPCs or like keeping raiding each other. So,
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you if 100 natives decided to roll up on someone's city, I can bet you a lot of them would start logging in to try and defend their realms and things like that, things of that.
Okay. Okay. Let's proceed. Mido.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, we'll just go fast on a few points. First of all, the art designing team, or whatever is that, Can you please explain me? Okay, you're changing. We report you that it's problematic. The outposts are getting decapped from immune towers and other thieves and all that. Okay, you find the solution of the totem. Okay, can you explain me what's the? Okay, there is a guy that makes this thing with the totem in the outpost. Okay, why first of all he can put the totem right next to the wall when the walls obviously we know everyone knows that they are problematic. Why the slaves outpost didn't get reworked so it has a door so you can put the totem inside, and so you change nothing. If it's a slave outpost, they can still be decapped by an immune tower, but just people don't use it so far. I mean, like, is that things that the guys missed, or it's taking more time and you just added a fast solution to rework it in the future?
Well, as far as I understand, what you are saying is that it looks like an oversight, and we just have to tweak the position of those capturing totems inside the outposts.
Okay.
If I understand you correctly, but
Yeah.
I don't think it was made on the purpose. We just simply didn't think about it, and so you just providing
Okay.
your feedback, and it would be
Okay.
nice if you will write it down and report it to Keyfeed, for instance. And
Yeah,
I
we
think it
send the
shouldn't be
video
hard.
and reproduce it. It's okay.
Okay.
Another thing, in many games, when you swing your weapon on a wall, the weapon will hit on the wall. You will hear a sound, whatever, and that's it. Why we cannot do that in this game? Why we have to go to the solution of making a video so we can ban the guy? Like, why the weapon goes through the wall and it can hit the person behind the wall?
Because in most of those games, it's a client-side calculation, and it's easier to do that on a client side. It's first point and second point. They have a different combat mechanics. Well, saying in some of the cases you can put your hands through the wall and your weapon hitting will your weapon will not be even through the wall, And I mean, there are some ways how we can prevent it on a server side, but they're all quite complex to implement. I agree with you that there has to be done. But so far, a temporary solution that we catering to the video reports.
Okay.
I mean,
fair enough. It's time consuming and all that, and priorities.
it's not that easy. I mean, of course, we can give it away on the client side, but even on the client side, it may provide some lags. But the thing is that it might probably be hacked, and it still will be an issue. Let's say that way.
Okay, understood. Another thing, like with the fifth expansion, and when you use those things and you expand the fifth borders and all that, you do realize that, or I don't know, probably your game masters or whatever, but sometimes I believe they just observe the seeds, so they see what's happening and how players play. Do you know that even now people can make even an immune tower to use it as a defense? So when you are an attacker and you're facing multiple walls and there is 3 castle walls that you cannot damage because it's in the other fifth because of the expansion of the fifth. Or I can just go as the way we destroyed 2 towns. We go to the fifth border, we expand the fifth, we drop a castle tower right next to the walls, and we just jump inside the walls. We don't even need to destroy something. Like, those are problems. Yeah, it's cool to expand the fifths and make bigger towns from whatever. Nobody will use a bigger town, but anyway, that's another story. But how we can prevent this? Because it's a problem right now.
Well, I think that the only way how you prevent it is not to build your defensive walls too close to your border, because the screenshot that I saw that some creative guilds they didn't even expand their fief. They just build a castle wall gates and use a drawbridge to jump on top of their enemies. And I'm saying that fief expansion is not a problem here. The problem is that defensive walls were put too close to the fifth border.
But when you are a defender, you choose where you build your walls and where you build your defensive tower. So it's still the case. The attacker cannot prevent where you're going to build your tower, and your tower will be immune. And imagine 30 archers on a tower that's immune. creates a kind of Anyway, like and I guess it's still something for the future.
Yes, there's definitely we have to think more about it. But I'd say that if you want to be safe with your thief, I'd suggest at least a couple of tiles to build your walls, at least a couple of tiles away from the thief, from your thief borders. That means it will be guaranteed that nobody will be able to put anything on your thief. Well, any
and jump
capital
inside.
building on your
Yeah, I
thief,
see.
and jump in or do whatever they want.
Okay, a quick one. The map, the green zones. I hear you talking about some changes, some fixes about the green zones. And don't you think that the green zones, when they are in the main land, they're causing a problem? Because not many guilds using that, but you can just build your base in the green zone, have your walls and your monument to use for everything other activities in the right next fief of it. Like, don't you think the green zone should have been from the start in islands when it doesn't interfere with the main land and the main content? People can take the island, let the new players play there, because we are as a PvP guild. Okay, let's say you wipe your map now. What will happen? Most of the PvP guilds will go and be on the border of the green zone because it's a huge benefit.
Well, we had this holy wars. We had those discussions many of times. Well, if you want to get yourself frustrated by fighting near the green zone PvP border, it's up to you. But you will not be able to control any parts of the map outside of that green zone or green zone border. So I mean, you get some kind of advantage, but you get the frustration when PvP during the PvP, any of the parties, like both of anyone can jump into the green zone and be safe. And in that case, why would you even bother freaking yourself out by fighting near the green border zone? And if you want to have a safe base, okay, in my opinion, if somebody goes that way, it's fine. But they will not be able to wrest any significant control further away from their from the green zone. I mean, somewhere deep into the other part of the map. So I mean, you can always have a set of private claims in the green zone and establish production there. Yeah, that's true. It's always an option, and we cannot really prevent it again because like there can be guildless private claims with just an access to the players, or even without access, just dropping resources and picking them up. But again, I agree that maybe some kind of island with green zone border would work better, but still, I don't think
believe
it
it
would
will
be.
be better. Leave the green
It will be
zone to
better.
island.
That's for sure. But we cannot change our map now.
No.
Yeah.
And you can easily make a smaller the map. The map would be much smaller and more functional if there was just the green zones were not in the center and were just some islands. You don't need that huge green zone. Anyway.
Well, I understand your opinion. Say that way. On the other hand, I understand it's not only your opinion. That is the opinion
of course. It's just an opinion, and that's just a quick question. And my opinion, because I've been playing since the start of the OBT, I believe this current 0.2 or whatever is that, no matter what changes we do now, I don't think it will kick back to the previous population with the way it is now. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, and I really hope you will do some magic and will revert. But I do believe at some point you will announce that okay, guys, we need to wipe them up and make these changes and implement this stuff because it will be obvious. People will be like 200 in the game, like in Avalon and the other servers, and it will be unavoidable. At least please have a plan so it will be the last one. I don't think many people will disagree when the game will go down to this small population, but we need to find a way, Bobik.
Well, I know
it's not easy,
Well, I know we need to find a way. Well, and I agree with you that there is a certain risk that we will not be able to pull them through. but still, I hope that we will be able to. At least we did it once with 0-0.
Yeah, but that required the wipe, and yeah, you might make a new wipe. Probably many people will return again.
Well, okay, everyone, you know who you will have to blame if we will start
Oh,
the wipe.
Bobik, if you believe me, if you run in a month from now and you have my thing, like in a month from now, run a vote, and you will see how many people will ask for the
Okay.
wipe.
Well,
But anyway, that's
yeah,
speculation.
I agree.
Okay.
I tentatively agree with you. Okay,
Yeah.
let's proceed.
Okay, proceed. Thanks.
Thank you, Mida. Thank you. Vash.
Hello, Bobik.
Hello.
I'm asking if you have any plan to increase the gathering amount of certain resource. I mean that everything could cost the same, but with less effort, you can gather the needed stuff to craft armors or to feed animals. An example, yeah, sorry.
No, continue. Sorry.
For example, the harvested crops. I know that we have two options. We can sow wild or domestic, but either way, it's a huge sacrifice for us to keep active all the stables. It's an example. In my opinion, I believe this is one of the reasons people is leaving the game. We improve a lot with the calendar because right now we could know when we will have to harvest crops, or also we improve having all the seasons to sow. But I'm still thinking it's so hard, all the sacrifice to become competitive in this game. The question is if you think maybe it's part of solution to increase the gathering amount of not all resources, but maybe, for example, I don't know, the herbal is so hard to do it, or for example,
Okay. I think I understand the question, and the answer is that no. Well, I mean, we don't have a certain list of things that we're going to improve and make easier and faster, but we'll definitely do that. And getting more sources or getting them faster is on the list. So that's our first priority, like making it's easier and faster for all players.
Yeah, I'm talking about that because I think that maybe the qualities it's slower, but when you think in gather, it's and maybe if we have a lot of people, but we know that each guild it's decreasing people, and it's so hard to stay competitive, to keep competitive.
Yes,
But
I understand.
yeah, it's for I want to give the example with the crops because it's if you plant wild, you take four from each style, and it's an example. You can take 8 or 12, and it's less effort for
I
feed the
understand.
animals. You know.
Yes, I understand this part. Well, as I said, so some kind of easing and speeding everything up is what we are working on right now.
Okay.
Let's continue.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Torman.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to finally get a chance to talk to you. But I think most of the questions I had on player retention and kind of the direction the game's moving were answered earlier. But the main thing I wanted to bring up was two things. Firstly, it would be effort versus reward. I know we were talking earlier about the rewards you get towards certain gods to boost your skill increases. For example, if you look closely at it, for example, for working with regional materials god, simply just smelting a piece of ore that you find in the ground, you can earn thousands of points smelting it over and over again. It gives you a larger number of points than, let's say, gathering all the materials and making a piece of tier 3 armor. You'll get a very insignificant amount of points for making something very rare compared to just a single ingot smelted over again.
Okay, so we're talking about the guts, and I think we also briefly discussed that guts and
it
ways
kind
how
of
you can please them should be tweaked and looked into.
it applies a little bit more widely than that. A friend of mine, Neil, brought up earlier that it goes towards the walls as well, with the low effort walls kind of being the better option than putting in the work to get something better, only for it to be destroyed in half the time. Also, when it comes to the effort you put in to generate money, someone can go to an NPC camp, for example, if you have the time, and generate enough money to maintain sieges, but there's no real option for generating income for groups that may be their members are operating busy schedules. They need to do something. There's no like quick alternative. I know there is trading and there is the NPC camps, but they're very locked by location, where you build, how accessible they are. Is there any kind of solutions towards that?
Well, you are talking about the high price for maintaining your claims for maintaining your fiefs and
Yeah. I don't
solutions
think
how.
anyone has a problem with the price. It's more they would appreciate some extra options to generate money, like selling thousands of a single resource doesn't really net you that much income.
Well, so I had such discussions in the private. So in private in private messages. I don't know if everyone is aware, but it's an open information that I share that we have an algorithm that's calculating amount of resources that are being sold to the crown globally on the server. Well, in this world on Goldenland, that's yeah. And so if everyone is selling a lot of wooden staves, that means the price will drop. And so, well, as a pro tip, I tell everyone make sure that you have some kind of resources that are not so popular. That means that you will sell them for the full price. And if you are selling something a lot by yourself, or if there are a lot of other players who are also selling the same stuff, that means all of you will suffer from the low price. That's just one of the pro tips that I have to share. But in overall, I understand that there is a problem that there will need be some more different ways how to get coins, crown coins, and yeah, we'll definitely should think about it.
Sorry, can I ask a question towards that? Like in that algorithm, say everybody's selling wooden staffs, and then everybody's selling silk cloth, because these are like two resources you can mass produce. Does that increase the price for other resources to be
No, it does
worthy
not
of
increase.
selling? Because that is the problem. Because it's like you can make loads of like tier 4 food, and that takes a long time to do, and you don't get much coin from it for your time and effort put into it. So everyone's just resulting to whatever's easy, and that makes everything else redundant to even sell. Like we've got loads of cooking supplies. Like we can't even make any money off it because it's just pointless. You may as well do the easier option, which is selling silk cloth or NPCs, for example. There's no like balance there. Like it's nice that it brings the price down for something, but everything else isn't worthy of selling. So eventually, it'll just be a point where nobody's selling anything because no one's selling anything to the crown because it will be worthless to do so.
So, rephrasing your comment, you're talking that about that some items are not valuable enough for the crown. That's why they're not being sold, and that's disappointing, right?
They're not being sold for enough, and with your algorithm in place, eventually it will be a point where everything that is selling for decent coin will be selling for nothing, but all your other stuff that's sold for petty coin anyway wouldn't be worth selling. Everyone would just go for the easy option, which is NPC camps, and then your whole sewing to the crown thing just goes down the drain. And that's where people are complaining that there's no way to make income efficiently other than NPCs.
Okay, I understand the problem. Well, maybe some items prices should need some tweaking. But as about algorithm, it's only working downwards. I mean, sometimes you might even want to keep your items and sell them later, like next day or some hours later. But as far as I understand, you are trying to say that there are some popular things, that there are really few popular things that are worth selling, and if everyone is selling them, they get a lowered price, and there is nothing else to sell that makes it worth. So
yeah, Bobik, to kind of sum it up, it's actually if you're a carpenter, you can earn. If you are something else, you can't. Literally, even if stuffs are like half price, it's worth just keep making stuffs and selling them, because other classes cannot earn money with anything.
Okay, well, I understand the problem. We'll definitely have to look into that.
It might not even require a change to algorithm or mechanics. It might just require
it's not about algorithm. Yeah, I understand. It's about
a
the base
different way to
price of
make money.
items. Yeah. I understand. No, the algorithm will stay there. That's for sure. It's about amount of items that are worth selling.
Or
Okay,
even some kind of expansion to how the NPC camps are a great source of income, we've found, but it's not accessible to all people.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe expanding either where NPCs are, how people can make money from them, could be a great way to up that.
Well, NPC camps were designed to be a limited resource that some guilds should rest and control over, to have a control over. Okay, understood.
One last thing I want to say in addition to the first thing. It kind of goes on to the effort versus reward again. And it's the effort you put into the armors, particularly. The tier 3 armor at the moment, you trek or trade your way through 32 regions to finally get a piece of armor that might give you 1 damage resistance more than your enemy. It just seems a little bit underwhelming at the moment. And on top of that, when it comes to the skills, the tier 4 skills in particular, you're talking about spending 140 to upwards on 280 days on some skills. And the reward you get for some of them is just being able to spin your weapon above your head and do 1 or 2 points of extra damage.
Yeah, I understand. I think it was also that kind of feedback also was provided to me before, and yeah, I agree that it worth it to take a look into that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's proceed. Thank you very much, Torman. Low fear, and you will be the last one for today.
All right. Hello, Bobik. Hello, everyone. I've got some questions actually, but some already got answered. So I will just come back to the thing Seth already mentioned, to the lag compensation. I think that's the biggest issue with bothers most of the PvEPs right now. I just want to know, how exactly is the lag compensation working? Like you said, if someone hits you from 3 tiles away, that's actually how it's supposed to be. So it should actually also affect like laggy players as well, so that they actually get like a slight benefit above players with like better internet, so that it gets kind of compensated. I think that's like the main part of it.
So, okay, so I'll answer on the question how exactly it works. And so it can be complicated, but I'll try to explain it. So so we have a server and a client, and the client is lagging. It doesn't matter if he's lagging on the purpose and slows the speed of getting and sending packets, or he's really in the other part of the world and it's simply packets are taking 200, 300 milliseconds to reach his PC, and the same amount of time to get back to send the response. So how it works basically is that we keep shades of the player positions, of all player positions on the server. So we keep I don't remember exactly the number, let's say 5 shades. So whenever you move in the space, so whenever you move, your previous 5 positions in the previous ticks are being saved. And when a lagger, because in his screen, he sees you with a certain delay. Let's say 300 milliseconds, and he sees you approaching to you only after 300 milliseconds when you actually did it, when server actually calculated that, and he makes a swing and he hits you. And that swing information also takes 300 milliseconds to reach the server, and server sees, okay, 600, almost a second ago, 600 milliseconds ago, that guy made a hit, and let's see, the victim who he just hit, was he 600 milliseconds before in that place? And he checks your shades, and he choose a right shade that was 600 milliseconds before, and he checks all the actual calculations on that shade. So he says that well, yeah, it's a genuine hit, because in his screen he hit you, and yeah, it happened 600 milliseconds ago, but it was a hit, because yeah, we see that 600 milliseconds you were right under his sword, position. And that's meaning that after 600 milliseconds, you can be on the other part of the map. But server says everything is correct, and he sends you a damage, sending you information that you were hit, and you see that, oh wow, there is a guy who hit me for 5 meters. What the fuck? But on the fact, he hit you correctly, and server verified it. And the only problem is that he's lagging.
Okay,
But
because yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Because what I noticed was like, every Lancer should know the problem if you chase like a Lancer. It was even on Avalon back then, that you kind of get stuck in the ghost horse, or being like pushed around by some invisible thing, because actually the calculation of the horse was where you had been, even though the Lancer was in front of you already. That thing kind of happens in melee now as well, which pretty much fucks up melee combats most of the time. Like, you just get pushed by ghosts or shades, whatever you want to call it, around, and it kind of feels like there is a huge mispositioning on server-sided and client-sided things, and it kind of makes the combat kind of difficult. Like, for example, parrying is not possible. In most cases, you won't be able to parry someone. You can, but you really have to be lucky for it. And the more players you have on that server, the worse it gets. And I mean, if you get pushed around, even though when fighting in a big blob, which happens regularly, you will have huge issues being pushed around, friendly hitting or not even hitting anyone at all, because even you got pushed around by them.
Well, what I'm trying to say, that that's how the system should work in theory, and that's how it works in most situations. But yes, we of course agree, and of course we understand there might be some bugs. Well, as far as I understand, under the reports, by judging by the reports, there is bugs, and we definitely have to fix them. But there is another thing that everyone should understand, that lag compensation is designed to make game comfortable for those who's lagging, and yet it makes it looking weird and uncomfortable for those who have a normal ping. But it's a slider, either we have everyone who got a normal ping comfortable, but in that case everyone who's playing from other part of the world, like from China, New Zealand, Japan, and well, all other parts of the world, they will have problems being effective in PvP. If we move that slider too much in the favor of the laggers, that means that people with normal lag will see a lot of different weird things, but those who are lagging will be fine. So what I'm trying to say, there is no way, there is no like physically technical way how we can do it equal for everyone, because it's like it's timing. It's time how much the packet takes to travel from one PC to another. And if it's a lot of wires to travel, if it's a lot of distance to travel, it can take 100, 200, 300 milliseconds. We can do nothing with that, and that's the point. So what I'm trying to say, it's a certain slider between the non-laggers and laggers, and only we can effectively do, except of like of course fixing all the bugs, and if our system is working not correct, is to move that slider. So what I'm trying to do, if we let's say remove the lag compensation, everyone who got a normal ping will be fine. They will be super. They will be happy. But those who are playing our game from a large distance or lagging for some reasons, they will not be able to play our game. And so I believe what we have right now is something in between, where laggers can somehow play and be kind of effective, and on the other hand, yeah, those who are not lagging see all types of the weird stuff, but still it's playable, somehow playable.
All right. So let's continue to the next topic then. Probably you're the wrong person for it again, because I know it's actually Bernard, but the combat in general. I think a lot of people here will agree with me if we say like the combat on Avalon good, but it was way more balanced than it is right now.
So sorry, when it was balanced?
At Avalon, I mean, it wasn't good, but it wasn't as bad as it is right now. Because right now we are literally facing more or less archer spam, because the damage is actually a bit too high, especially from crossbows. Even if you wear like a T2 plate, which has like the highest damage resistance, or should have the highest damage resistance against slashing, you will still see like shots of 50 plus, which shouldn't be the point of it. Even normal bows do a lot of damage to you. It's still slashing, not piercing. Lances kind of got nerfed to the ground. Like if you're Lancer, you're kind of useless because you cannot lance infantry. You will more or less just get lagged out by the infantry. Most likely even because of the lag compensation. I'm not sure about it, but that's like how it feels like. Also, you have to pre-aim very hard, like 2 to 3, even sometimes 4 tiles lancing already if you want to hit someone. Then also it comes up to all the horse mechanic changes which were made at the last Avalon patch, like not being able to bump anyone anymore, just with hardy horses. Spirited's not actually existing anymore, or being completely useless. Then it also comes up to Bardish being completely useless, Broadex being completely good. Yeah, I
So
mean,
in few words.
yeah, there are a lot of things. I mean, I could continue now, but I think you see what I'm trying to say. Like, there's a lot of potential to be balanced, because I mean, you can never balance everything. Of course, I can understand that, but looking back at Avalon, we kind of had more balance than we have now. And is there any plans that you actually want to change that? I mean, in the near future, at least.
No, well, combat balancing is always persistent and ongoing, and well, we definitely have to do something, but I'm just not able to answer it because, well, Bernard is not here, obviously, and yeah, it's a good point to ask him if he want to do something with that, but I was under impression that when it was May, or May patches, so maybe, yeah, I think it was some of the May patches, that combat balance was way better. Well, after one of those major combat balances.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so I understand your opinion, but I'd like to get the opinion from more players, because well, again, I was under impression that combat that we have right now is way better than it was, at least in Avalon, or at least a couple months ago.
I mean, we could do a poll about it, and I think most of the people would agree with me what I'm saying. But I mean, it's not the time to say that. I just wanted to know if you actually plan to do changes on it.
Well, it's always an ongoing. I think it will be eternal process because balancing such a complicated combat system will never be achieved like 100% achievable. It will always be something slightly OP or overpowered or slightly underpowered.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay, next question would be performance issues. I don't know if Kifit told you about it. I got him on some things related to performance in game. It happened at some claims now. I'm not sure why. I'm kind of expecting because of like 15 stacks of soil which we'll use for terraforming, so they might fuck up a bit of the performance.
So sorry to interrupt you. When you're talking about performance, I just want everyone to understand that there are like two major performance two major performance scales. I don't know, not scales, metrics. Either we are talking about server performance, and in server performance we are talking about rubber banding. That means that server is lagging, or we're talking about abilities timeouts when inventory or terraforming or wood cutting or any other abilities are taking longer than they should, and to see the effect of their you see the effect of your ability after a certain delay, like seconds or maybe tens of seconds delay. That's a server side issues. Or there is a client side issues. It's usually like low FPS and freezing and stuttering and everything. So when we're talking about performance, what kind of performance issues you are talking about exactly?
Let me give you an example. Like the claim we had been on, sieging on, it was kind of impossible to do anything there for me, and not only for me, but for others as well. It was kind of like that. If you look down at the claim, or if you had looked down at the claim, the CPU actually ran up to 100% usage on all cores. All 8 cores have been 100%.
Okay.
When getting near, I was like getting 8 FPS. When when facing the other side, not looking at the claim itself, it went up to 60 FPS.
Okay, I understand. So it's a client side
Yeah,
performance
kind of.
issues.
So, and
just
there's
report
the
it.
thing. Yeah, I did, but I still have no clue what actually came out at the end. That's why I'm asking. Like, did you find anything? Maybe a memory leak or something?
Well, memory leaks are not working that way. It definitely sounds like some
Well,
kind of
if I have
calculation
like
loop.
if I have like 14 GB of RAM being used, it's kind of memory leak for me. I mean, it
But,
shouldn't happen.
well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But on the other side, it might, we have a lot of art that can get inside your GPU RAM. But okay, so can you tell me who or when did you report it to?
I reported it like 1 or 2 weeks ago to Kifit, and I
Okay.
also got Kifit during a judgment hour there to check it out himself. But as I said, I didn't get any answers, so I have no clue what actually happened there.
Okay. Okay, well, I will speak with him later and see if he was able to reproduce it. Oh, actually, Kifit, are you here with us? I see him in the chat, but probably he went AFK. Okay, we'll talk with
Yeah,
him
no worries.
sometime later, yeah, and see if he was able to reproduce it. Because if it's something hardware or PC specific, or in your case, because I do know that we have, for instance, we have problem with SLI video cards or some hardware. It will be a problem, but if we can easily reproduce it, we'll definitely look into it.
It was for most people at that siege, just to clarify, not for him.
Okay, so then it makes it easier for us to find.
Okay, so let's go to the last topic I actually still have. It's PV related. The huge grind we have. I mean, yes, you wanted to make the game a bit more interesting with the time-gated skills and stuff. I can understand, but maybe it's time to actually rethink that. Some of the skills are actually way too long. Like, if you're above 90, you will wait for like 4 to 5 months to actually reach the top. which most players won't even last anyway. And so getting really good high quality stuff in most cases it's kind of impossible. Also, if it comes up to the grind, just look at the farmers and like the breeders or procurators. It's enormously, ridiculously high effort to do stuff. Still, horses are disappearing in stables. Still, they're not really reproducing in stables. The quality drop is still there. They don't really get up in them. Then we also have the thing which was already mentioned with all the money grinding. Is there any plans on changing it or maybe adjusting it?
Yes, that's the plans that we were discussing during the whole of the AMA to make things easier and faster and so more rewarding. So yes, answer the question, yes.
Yeah, maybe I missed it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine, it's fine. I'm saying that's our first major step that we are planning. Is to make things easier and faster and more rewarding for new players and for everyone in general.
All right, and one last question. Can I actually suggest to add pineapples and tacos into the game as food?
Along with camels and parrots. Oh, sorry,
Please?
attack parrots.
All right, thanks for the time.
Well, I'd say screw that. No, we will not going to make fast progression. We should implement pineapples. Done.
Would appreciate it.
Yeah, that definitely should bring a lot of old players back and retain the new players.
Definitely. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
and tacos. Sorry, I forgot about tacos. Yeah, how can I? Okay, I think that's it. So it's 2 hours.
I have a few questions from the chat. It's really quick.
Really quick. 2 questions from chat and really
Okay.
I'll be going. Yeah.
Chinese server. When will it open? Don't shoot the messenger.
I'm not allowed to say much about it, but I suggest you to check out China Joy announcements.
Okay, and you talk about a lot about lag compensation, and you say yourself that it's kind of unfair. It cannot be perfect. So why let it in the game if it's unfair anyway?
Well, it's what I'm trying to say is that it is a slider. You know, if we turn it way to the left, to let's say, can you imagine the slider? You know, like in any slider, horizontal slider. So if you turn it way to the left, that means that it will be perfect for those who are not lagging, and that will be almost unplayable to those who are lagging. If you turn it way to the right, it means it will be very good for laggers, but it will be completely unfair and unplayable for those who are fighting those laggers or for non-laggers.
Okay, so it's to make more even between people.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say that there is no physical or technological way how we can make it equal and playable for both of type of players. That's why we have a setting that is somewhere in between, where everyone have a okay gameplay or with let's say bugs aside, but kind of as far as the reports that I have, laggers can play, and those who are not lagging, well, yeah, there are sometimes frustrating moments, but in general they can play and fight. And what I'm trying to say, we're trying to please everyone, but of course the only real solution would be to create an open regional servers, but we had NA servers and we had to close them, and we had some other European servers we also had to close them, and so it's basically based on the population, amount of players, and frankly saying cost of operations.
You talk about the next step is making the game easier, faster. To sum it up, do you still pushing some quality of life fix like cards, buggy horse, and stuff like that? You still working on that? Because we don't see any progress on that.
Well, it's a bit delayed, but yeah, I agree with you that it has to be done.
Okay, and last question: have you ever considering redoing the game on a different game engine?
Well, first of all, whoever suggested, guys, you have no idea how impossible it is.
I know it's expensive, but
well, it's not expensive. It's impossible. I mean, transferring the game on a new engine, it's basically rewriting the whole game from the scratch. Well, of course, art will stay, but even in some cases, you will have to convert the art. I mean, all the models and textures accordingly. But code, gameplay code, and everything will have to be rewritten in most cases because it's not easy to move it. And another aspect that there are no engines that will be ready for our game. I mean, I know how it might sound loud, but it is. I mean, of course, we evaluated Unity and Unreal and everything, and they're all fine from the perspective of how beautiful they look and how well they perform in a small-scale multiplayer up to 100 players. But you can trust me that when you take Unreal and try to run our Siege with 300 players, both network and rendering part will not run through. They will not make it happen. And that will mean that we'll have to optimize those engines, and we will end up with basically the same our own engine.
Okay, and last questions. Have you ever considered making the MMO a seasonal MMO with frequent wipe and?
Yes, it was considered, and yeah, everyone you know another person who can be blamed for a wipe. No, but seriously, it was considered, but I cannot promise that we'll do that in the nearest future because I mean, constant wipes it changes the gameplay completely, and it basically turns it into another Life is Feudal your own style, you know, because in Life is Feudal your own you can have wipes and jump between servers as much as you want, but the whole idea of Life is Feudal MMO was to have something way more persistent.
Okay, thank you. That's the question I've read in the chat. So maybe other people have read other questions. Thank you, Bobik.
Well, honestly, guys, that's thank you very much for your time. It was planned to last for an hour and a half. Now it's lasting for 2 hours and more than 2 hours. Well, first of all, thank you again for staying with us. Thank you again for being passionate and interested with our game, and thank you for coming today. And well, sorry for those whose questions were not addressed, so I had no time to answer it. And well, yeah, keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that the new free to play and ease everything and will make the difference. Will make the significant difference. Okay. Any really short things anyone want to say or ask, like really short things? So are we done? Okay.
Quick, quick question about the free to play. So we're gonna be able to make characters for free now on the mainland?
Oh well, yeah, that's the idea, but maybe not for everyone, but for new accounts or something like that. And of course, there will be some kind of well, not limitations, but some kind of mechanism to prevent the overdoing that.
Will there be a compensation for people which already paid for each character?
It was not planned, but maybe it's worth to consider it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, guys, and well, see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye, see you.
See you boys in a year's time.
Yeah, man. See ya.
Rip.
Big rip. Hey, but about those horses though. Surely.